Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into an inspiring journey. A story about perseverance, teamwork, and the lessons we learn when we refuse to give up. From moments of doubt and struggle, to the strength of community, and the small steps that lead to big change, this story reminds us that every journey is meaningful, no matter how tough it gets. So, stay with me as we explore this heartfelt experience together. And if you enjoy it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next videos. One early morning, as the first rays of dawn filtered through the treetops, the tranquil countryside village slowly stirred to life. At the market, amidst the bustling crowd, a man with a quiet yet resolute demeanor moved through the scene. Dieu. He walked slowly among the stalls, his hands carefully selecting pieces of meat, his eyes intently weighing each small coin. The early market air was thick with the scents of vegetables and fish, and the constant calls of vendors. But in his mind, only the image of a dilapidated thatched house and the two people waiting there lingered. Back at home, Huyen, a woman burdened by the weight of survival, was kindling the fire. A pot of guava leaf water bubbled, releasing a gentle fragrance. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from the mounting worries pressing down on her. Nearby, Maya, the small child, sat on the dirt floor, humming a carefree tune. Huyen watched her daughter, her eyes filled with love mixed with heartache. Each passing day felt like a battle to preserve that innocent smile. Her thoughts turned to the jackfruit trees in the garden, their heavy, ripened fruits glowing golden. Perhaps selling a few could secure their evening meal. The bubbling water in the pot seemed to recount months of hardship, yet it also whispered a faint glimmer of hope. Stepping outside, Huyen gazed at the old thatched house, the wind whistling through its cracks. She reminded herself to stay strong, for only then could she keep hope alive for Maya. At the market, after paying, Diep hurriedly gathered his heavy bag of goods, his steps quickening on the path home. His thoughts were of Huyen, of Maya, and of his promise to finish the half-built room. The early breeze carried a touch of worry, but also a spark of faith in a new day. Meanwhile, Huyen took a deep breath, silently thanking Dieu, the man who quietly bore the weight, silently supporting her family through countless stormy days. As the sun rose higher, golden warmth bathed the small thatched house. Dieu returned, carrying a bag of meat and a few miscellaneous items from the market. The scent of fresh meat wafted through the air, stirring the once quiet space. Huyen wiped her hands on her apron, her eyes briefly lighting up as she saw him enter. "You're back?" she said softly, her voice tinged with exhaustion. Nhat nodded slightly, setting the bag down and briefly recounting what he'd bought. Huyen opened the bag, calculating each coin carefully. Every item a delicate balance between today's meal and tomorrow's hopes. After preparing everything, she turned to instruct Maya to stay good with Dieu, then grabbed a knife and basket, hurrying to the jackfruit garden. The jackfruit trees stood silently, their ripe, round fruits exuding a sweet aroma. She touched each one, feeling their weight as if holding her family's future in her hands. Her movements were careful, yet urgent, driven by a surge of determination. Each glance back at the thatched house tightened her chest, as she dreamed of a day when the wind would no longer seep through its gaps at night. Inside, Debegan, measuring wooden planks, preparing to repair the house. The first hammer strike rang out, a vibrant pulse of hope. Outside, Huyen looked back, catching glimpses of Ande and Maya through the doorway. Her heart warmed, yet it also grew heavy, knowing the road ahead was far from easy. The sun climbed higher, its harsh rays blanketing the jackfruit garden. Huyen, drenched in sweat, tirelessly picked the ripe fruits. Each one placed in her basket was not just produce, but a sliver of light, a promise of a fuller meal. Birds chirped brightly, yet they couldn't drown out the growing weight of her worries. Inside, on deck knelt by a pile of wood, his calloused hands measuring and nailing. His shirt was soaked with sweat, but his eyes remained patient. Maya sat close by, clutching a piece of wood tightly as he'd instructed. "Hold it steady. I'm working now." Undecided, his voice low but warm. The little girl nodded, her eyes sparkling as if she were part of an exciting adventure. The hammer's steady rhythm echoed like a quiet affirmation. This house would grow stronger. Occasionally, Ande glanced at Maya, his heart swelling with tenderness but tinged with regret. If only he could do more for the mother and daughter. Outside, Huyen paused, wiping sweat with a cloth, her gaze instinctively turning toward the house. The faint sight of Ande and Maya through the small window warmed her heart, yet pierced it with sorrow. She knew his dedication was the flame sustaining their hope, but it came with immense toil. By noon, the scorching sun seemed to burn through the crowded market. Amid the lively chaos, Huyen sat quietly by her pile of jackfruit. The golden fruits, fragrant and inviting, were displayed, but her calls grew hoarser. Many passers-by glanced, but few reached for their wallets. She counted each small coin meticulously, her heart heavy with worry for Maya waiting for lunch at home. Just then, an elderly woman, the garden's owner, stopped by. Her kind eyes met Huyen's, and her trembling hand rested on Huyen's shoulder. "Lower the price a bit, I'll help you," she said slowly. Huyen nodded, gratitude welling up, mixed with a trace of humility. She carefully packed the jackfruit, her hands trembling slightly as she received 60,000 zhong. A small sum, but to her, it meant a meal, a piece of hope. Amid the market's clamor, Huyen sat quietly, her heart heavy, yet sparked with a faint light. The kindness of a stranger eased her burden. Gathering the remaining jackfruit, she stood. Her shoulders still weighed down, but her steps felt lighter. In the market's chaotic din, Huyen carried home a fragile thread of faith, that despite life's harshness, there were still hands extended, giving her strength to keep moving forward. Looking back on that journey, perhaps what moves me most isn't just the outcome, but the moments we shared together. I vividly remember those rainy days when we huddled in a makeshift tent, drenched to the bone, yet still debating, arguing, and bursting into laughter. Those moments made me realize that a community only truly bonds when each person sets aside a bit of their self to make room for us. To be honest, there were times I thought about giving up. The pressure from costs, the whispers from outsiders, and the initial failures left me rattled. But every time I wavered, I'd recall the hopeful eyes of those around me. They believed that if we persevered, a path would open. And so, I'd stand up, take a deep breath, and keep going. One lesson I've drawn from this experience is that big changes don't happen overnight. They start with small steps, with persistent actions repeated day after day. It's like planting a seed. You can't expect a shady tree by tomorrow, but if you diligently water it and shield it from storms, one day you'll sit under its branches, proud that you didn't give up. I believe this story isn't just about our group. Anyone embarking on a new journey, be it business, studies, or simply breaking a habit, will face moments of wanting to quit. But try to recall the reason you started. That's the spark to keep you moving forward. A friend in our group once said, "We don't have to create something grand. Just being a little better than yesterday is enough." It sounds simple, but the more I live, the truer it feels. Because when you're patient with each small step, you're gradually building a solid foundation for the future. Above all, I've learned that in any journey, the connection between people is the greatest strength. In moments of exhaustion, a handshake, a word of encouragement, or even a knowing glance can be enough to reignite your drive. I'm sure you've had moments like that too, when a small, sincere word from someone pulled you out of despair. If you're watching this video and feel stuck somewhere, I just want to say, you're not alone. Everyone who's achieved success has faced days when they thought they couldn't go on. So give yourself one more chance, one more day, and you'll be amazed when you look back at how far you've come. As my story draws to a close, I realize this journey didn't just help me build a project, it taught me how to build myself. I'm more patient, a better listener, and most importantly, I've learned to cherish every person who walked this path with me. Because in the end, results may change, but the memories and bonds we share will last forever. If you ask me the biggest lesson from this experience, I'd say, no path is paved with roses, but every step has meaning. Every scratch, every drop of sweat, every laugh in the face of hardship, they all weave a story I'll always hold dear. And I believe it's the same for your journey. No matter your niche, whether you're starting a YouTube channel, a small shop, or a personal project, that journey is worth it. It's not about how fast you reach your destination, but how far you go while holding on to your passion and faith. Before wrapping up this video, I'd like you to take a moment to think. What are you holding back on, hesitating to start? Maybe it's a business idea, a study plan, or just a habit you want to change. Try writing it down and setting a small goal for today. Who knows, that first step might lead to an incredible journey. My story is just a tiny slice of countless journeys out there. But if it can spark a bit of inspiration or faith that anything is possible if you don't give up, then this journey feels even more meaningful. So, thank you for sitting here, listening until the very end. I hope when you leave this video, you'll carry a bit of motivation to keep going on your own path. And as always, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to join me in the next videos. Every small action from you is a huge source of motivation for me to keep sharing inspiring stories. See you in the next video, where we'll continue to explore, learn, and nurture the belief that every journey is worth taking. The story begins with the struggles and challenges a small group faced at the start of their journey. From cold, rainy nights with soaked clothes to the heavy burden of financial pressure, there were moments when giving up seemed inevitable. Yet, it was faith, patience, and the strength of community that pushed them forward. They discovered that true change doesn't happen overnight, but through small, consistent steps. Every scratch, drop of sweat, and burst of laughter amidst hardship became part of an unforgettable journey. This is not only about building a project, but also about building oneself, learning to listen, to appreciate others, and to hold on to passion. In the end, the lesson is clear. No matter how tough the path may seem, every journey is worth walking as long as you don't give up.